Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to show you how to demud and add punch to your bass. But before we jump into the video, if you would like for me to mix your music, shoot me an email at divinemotherstudios@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you with details of your project. Let's jump into it. So I'm making this video because I watched Josh Middleton's Nail the Mix recently, and he has a unique way of EQing bass that I've never seen before. And I used to struggle immensely with getting really good clarity out of my bass guitar without having it be really muddy. And one of the things I first was learning or taught when I first started mixing was the fact that to boost anywhere between 80 to 100 hertz. And it wasn't until I saw that Nail the Mix that ultimately Josh Middleton threw that kind of concept out the window. Now, the problem with most amateur metal mixes is that the bass guitar is always going to have some masking effect with the kick drum. And the reason for that is that they're boosting too much of the fundamental frequency of the bass guitar, or they're adding too much distortion, or they are compressing way too much without taking care of that fundamental frequency. So how do we solve this problem of the bass being really powerful but not muddy and not having any conflict with our kick drum? Ultimately, it's going to come down to two moves. You're going to have some kind of low shelf boost here and some kind of fundamental frequency cut. So it's similar to what a Pultec would do if you boost and cut at the same frequency, but not quite the same thing. Now, I'm gonna play you the bass. I have this bypassed for the moment, and the bass should sound really farty and really muddy and very murky. And then I'm gonna play you guys the bass with this engaged, and you should see that it sounds very clear. There's still a lot of note definition, but there's not a lot of mud in there. So let's go ahead and play that now. So as you could tell, there was a lot of farty kind of noise. It sounded almost a little too distorted. Now, if I put this EQ back in, it should clean up extremely well, but still have a lot of that low end and power that we want out of our bass guitar. If you're having a hard time hearing that, let me play it for you and A/B that as we go. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, a lot of amateur mixes have this problem of having a lot of mud and a lot of masking with the kick drum. So the kick drum tends to disappear once the bass guitar gets to be introduced into the mix. If I was to go ahead and bypass the band here where I take away the fundamental note, it actually should sound a lot worse now that that has been taken and reintroduced. All right, so that was without the fundamental frequency cut. So there's still a lot of low end, but that extra information in there is adding a lot of mud to that mix there. So let me go ahead and re-engage the cut on the fundamental frequency, and now go ahead and let's listen to the mix. And you should see that the mix should open up. It's still gonna sound very powerful. It's still gonna have a lot of cool low end, but it's not gonna have that weird murkiness that it had before. I really hope that demonstrated what I was talking about here. If you're having trouble hearing that, just go ahead and rewind the video and just watch the two A-B sections until you can kind of really get an understanding of what's going on. Now, I want you guys to understand a few concepts here. In metal mixes, I have personally found that the power in your mixes a lot of the time is going to come from your bass guitar, but a lot of the punch is always going to come from your kick and snare drums. So if you can kind of marriage the sounds together and blend them in a way where you're getting the best of the power and the best of the punch, you're going to have a very powerful and punchy sounding mix. If you guys didn't notice, when I had the bass guitar going without that fundamental frequency cut, that cut was actually masking some of the kick drum. Let me play that for you again. And now that I'm hearing it as well, I'm also hearing on the guitars don't seem to have enough definition anymore. They almost seem to be now clouded as well with that fundamental frequency information put back in. But if I pop this in, the kick drum should start poking out a little bit more. It's going to be more punchy, and the guitars should clean up a little bit as well. So to me, that is a much better sounding mix. You have a lot of that clarity that you get from cutting that fundamental frequency, but because we're boosting a ton of the low end with this shelf boost and even some of the low mids here, you are retaining a lot of the power that you would get from a bass guitar to get a great sounding metal mix. Now you're probably wondering, is this all I would do to a bass mix? Well, from here, I would probably end up boosting a little bit of 1.5K, anywhere between 600 and 1K tends to be where a lot of the growl is in your mix. So a lot of that could go a long way to making the presence of your bass guitar more available in your mix. And as you can see here, I am boosting quite a bit because that low end is fairly boosted, and I wanted to compensate that with some mid-range here. So about 12 dB of 1.5K is being boosted. Now, some common mistakes that I also see here is a lack of compression on your bass guitar. Your compression on metal mixes especially is that you basically want it to turn into a giant synth sine wave. But if you don't EQ it in the way I just showed you guys, you're gonna get that farting noise. So let's just take a brief look at that, what I'm talking about here. I am compressing, I believe, on the SSL channel here. So I'm doing 3 dB of gain reduction on the SSL channel. I am doing about 7 dB to 10 dB of gain reduction on the 1176. I'm adding some harmonics at around 80 hertz, and then I'm also following it up with a limiter just to catch some errant peaks, and I'm following it up with the last plugin in my chain, which is a C4 multiband compressor, compressing just the low end, everything below 100 hertz even more. If I hadn't done the fab filter trick here that Josh Middleton has showed me, where I boost with the low shelf and then cut the fundamental frequency, it would just be this mangled farty mess pissing all over my mix. Now, you can do this at the DI stage so that going into your mixing chain, you know, a lot of that has been taken care of. But because I finished this mix and sent it off to the client and learned this trick afterwards, just for the sake of this video, I decided to just put it near the end of the chain right before my limiter. So just to summarize, the trick here is to grab any kind of digital EQ. Go ahead and start with the low boost shelf here, or anywhere between 250 and 200 hertz, and boost up until where you get a lot of the low end that you're looking for, and then jump around anywhere between 90 to 150 hertz, and then just notch it out on that fundamental frequency. So let's go ahead and listen to the mix one more time, and I'm going to be A-Bing the EQ in between each section so we can hear the final result. I highly recommend giving this trick a shot. It saved me tons. I've used it ever since I found this out on even the most latest releases I have mixed for friends and clients. And I do hope that it helps your guys' mixes. So if you like this video, give me a like, comment, and subscribe. It'll help me more than you guys know, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.